Going live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a different edition of the TPN podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing whether free speech should be policed or how we classify hate speech. We're also going to be talking about debating in general, how people should debate with each other in civilized manners, and also we're going to be following up on some topics from yesterday. Some new opinions have been thrown into the mix that I'm going to discuss. And also, we're going to be following up to changes coming to the channel and the podcast in future. So, with that said, intro time. Yes, and that was successfully the new intro that I've finally been able to play. Last time was a bit of a cock up because I was trying to fit Tommy in. This week, this edition, we've not got Tommy, which is of course a big shame because I know a lot of people like Tommy, even though sometimes he can have stern views, which he likes to put very. In fact, he argues very well, a bit better than me to be honest. Where he argues a good point, whether you agree with him or not. He still argues a good point, and he puts his case across very strongly and very well. So yes, so we're gonna have a little bit of a less of a strong hand in today's discussion, but we're gonna be hoping to get Tommy on later down the line, doing a quick phone-in session to just give his views on what we're talking about today. So we got some good things coming over. The first thing I want to get out the way is changes coming to the podcast. Now, we said we're going to be doing this every week, but Tommy's on holiday next week, so it's just going to be me, unless anyone else wants to fill in for Tommy while he's away, then I'm more than open to. But yeah, Tommy is away, so it's just going to be me for the next couple of weeks, which isn't a bad thing to some people. Well, it is a bad thing. Well, yeah, okay, it is a bad thing because we're going to miss Tommy, but you're going to have me and my weird views of the world, which, yeah, let's get into that. So, changes coming to the channel. Well, you might have noticed from the last podcast, we had a little bit of a rebrand. We got a new lower third, a new intro music, and this is a minor refresh. We're going to class this as a new season of the TPN podcast. It's a minor refresh, so nothing too major. We're going to change the format a bit, so we're going to have more of a structured format. We're going to have intros, but also we're going to do it so it's a bit more laid back and we're having, more fun essentially. So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to have more discussion, more debating. We're going to put contemplating debating into practice, where we're actually going to have more debates, because I know a lot of times me and Tommy we would just discuss the news, a lot of time on like political issues such as our boss is doing, or economic factors and just general running of the countries and stuff. Me and Tommy tend to agree quite a lot in terms of that portion, whereas we want to get into more discussion topics where me and Tommy could have we do have a bit of a different ideas and different views of the world, where we can actually argue against each other and actually give you a good show. And hopefully we're going to be able to get more people on in the future to be able to come on the show and actually argue a point and challenge Tommy, hopefully, because Tommy likes to be challenged. Oh, and that was my light that's just fallen off. Not to worry, you can go back on. There we go. Shit, technical difficulties. There we go. Yeah, anyway, with that said, we're going to get on to the first topic of the day, which is going to be more of a discussion type topic, which is free speech or hate speech. Now, this idea has been around for a while, especially with government announcing that Ofcom are going to be regulating what you can say on, basically regulating the internet. And the whole premise is, should we censor things that are not strictly against the law, but may be considered, unpleasant language? So, like, for example, how can I put this? Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 lobbies back in the day where everyone's F'd your mum and yeah, basically just saying naughty things that you don't agree with. Of course, it's a bit more extensive than that. Oh, I need my fruit juice. So, the premise of free speech is, well, you can say essentially what you want, well, within reason. Like, of course, if you are going to say something which is illegal, or, yeah, that you actively committed a crime by saying something, so, such as making legit, like, terrorist threats, or just a threat to assault someone in general, that sort of thing where it certainly crosses the line of the law. That's the sort of thing I don't think anyone should say, and probably should be punished, especially if you're going to threaten to physically assault someone. Yeah, calling someone not nasty names. Now, if you just call someone on Twitter, if you just call someone on Twitter a dickhead, I don't think that should really worry. Of course, it can result, though it can borderline into harassment if it's repeated, and a continued attack on someone, then it could be technically classed as harassment if it's in a malicious manner. But saying not nice things online shouldn't be something that we should regulate as such. There is a difference between actual hate speech and saying something which some people might find a bit on the edge, or I don't quite agree with that. And I personally am a believer of a free society where people can voice their opinions and say what they want, even if it offends someone, because that is the society I want to live in, where just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean they should be silenced, which is my whole premise, which we'll go into later discussion on debate and discussion of a topic, whether if you don't quite agree with someone, and about how you go on to then debate and challenge people's views if you so wish. But to then have a regulator deem what is offensive, what can't be online, that's pretty scary, especially if Ofcom does have the level of regulation that is rumoured for them to have. That's going to be quite scary, and something I don't really want. I don't want a third party who's not elected by the people of the country to deem what is offensive, what is hate speech, what someone can or can't say online. I was reading into Ofcom saying about them policing on things that aren't strictly illegal but may be deemed as offensive. Now, of course, hate speech can be something which you can be prosecuted for. Hate speech, in my eyes, is when you actively go out and discriminate against someone, or say, I don't like this certain person, or I don't like this group. Well, this group, actually, if you say, I don't like this certain person because of this, this, and that, whereas if you say, I don't like a race of people, I don't like this religion of people because of the colour of their skin or their religious beliefs, then that can borderline on hate speech, and you're actually saying, I don't like them because colour of their skin or whatever, then that is borderline hate speech, and that is something which could be looked at. Though it's going to be a bit hard for Ofcom and the police to police every single thing someone says online, because if they were to actually police Twitter for every single toxic thing or nasty thing someone says, that is just a waste of time, and quite frankly, not worth it. Twitter is a small portion. Of course, if someone's taking harassment and bullying you from the platform, and if you decide to mute them or block them or leave the platform, and that harassment continues into your real life, then of course that is an issue for concern. Ooh, I forgot what I was going to say then. Right, so yes, then hate speech, that it's a very sensitive subject on how do you classify what is offensive and hate speech. Now, hate speech, when I said about discriminating against someone, actually being racist towards a group and saying disgusting, vile things about a person because of like their either how they choose to, either their sexual orientation or their race, their gender, just discriminating against a group, that is, you just shouldn't do it. Full stop. if you offend someone, because of, I don't know, I say hate speech, like, I'm borderline on, do you like, is doing that something that should be policed, or it depends on the level you say, because hate speech is very hard to say. If you just say I don't like the color of someone's skin, then that is bad, and quite frankly, I think it's disgusting. Completely disagree with you. But should you be banned? Now that is the topic of debate, and that is a very hard line, because people have been charged over hate speech. Sometimes I think it has gotten a bit ridiculous, such as the bloke who got charged because his dog did a Nazi salute. Which, okay, in this day and age, doing a Nazi salute is offensive. But do you think just because a dog did it, he was trying to make a joke? Do I think he should be prosecuted by the police because of that? No. He was making a stupid joke. Okay, given a stupid and a bit of an offensive joke. But is that something that should be classed as a crime? I don't think it is. Because if you look at a lot of humour, how humour's meant to be a lot of offensive humour. If you look at like Frankie Boyle, Jimmy Carr, some of Ricky Gervais' jokes, that can offend people. But it's in the right context. If you're trying to do it just to make a tasteless joke, which people are going to think, right, you're a bit of an idiot for doing so, I don't think you should be punished for it, though. Just because you made a tasteless, insensitive joke, that should not mean you should be punished for it. If you're going out your way to actually cause harm to a group of people, actually going out your way to cause malicious damage to someone and a group of people, then of course that is where hate speech should be prosecuted. But I am still an advocate for free speech. Just because you are offended, if you are offended by something, you should still, you have the right to challenge that person to their view. You have the right to criticize that person. You have the right to say, I don't like what this person has said. But I don't think we should be ever in a position where you want to say, I don't like what this person says, so therefore I want to completely censor and block what they are saying. I think society needs to be open and free, and we need to have that medium of discussion. Otherwise, the world will be boring, and if everyone thought the same, well, life would be very boring as well. So, we have seen a bit of a clampdown on free speech, I think, personally. To a point where I don't know what the future's going to hold, where if you can have a view which some people are going to think, and not like. But I still think everyone should have the right to voice their opinions, even if you strongly believe it is the wrong opinion. But I still think everybody should be able to voice their opinion, even if you completely disagree or find that opinion horrible. Because, well, the medium for discussion, to find out what people are actually thinking, what their viewpoints are, who they are as a person, and just active discussion, especially in politics. Like, we need that free discussion, free platform for people to voice their opinions. And if you disagree, have a calm discussion about it. If you don't, but certainly don't try and block that person from having a platform. And now, this also goes over recent news from Katie Hopkins, surprisingly. Now, Katie Hopkins is a woman I can't say I like or agree with a lot of the times. In fact, a lot of the things I found she said have been a bit disgusting, if in my opinion. And not a woman I can say I agree with or particularly like. But recently, there's been a campaign to block what she's saying, ban her from Twitter, so she can't voice her opinion. Yes, okay, opinions are in my opinion, a bit shitty, but I don't think she should be banned from Twitter or essentially censored for her viewpoints. Even though I strongly disagree with them, I still think she should be free to voice their opinions, but also be free to criticism and to be challenged with those opinions as well. So there it is. I want to know what people at home are thinking on the topic of free speech. Where is the fine line between free speech and hate speech? Where is the fine line between what should be policed and what shouldn't be policed? What should be prosecuted at? It's a very fine line and a big topic going forward. Where that fine line is, I don't quite know at the moment. It's very hard to say. Though I don't think we should be in a state of censorship just because people say shitty things all the time. And shitty things shouldn't be censored, especially if you say something that's offensive. Now, I don't want to go on, be the whole Ben Shapiro rant of facts, not feelings. That is sort of right though. Like, just because someone has a fact or okay, this as example, a fact, and you offended by that, your feelings. Okay, everyone has a right to have the feelings, still voice their opinions on them, but you shouldn't try and say no because of someone's brought some facts to light or someone's voiced their opinion. That's something we should say no. So with that little portion done, I want to go over to, of course, when I talked about what is deemed as a viewpoint and how you challenge them. Well, we've been over should you challenge them by blocking them and getting them deplatformed? No. I think you should go and challenge them to the view, which is what we're going to get into on the TPN podcast now. And on Contemplating Debating, we're going to discuss debating. Well, we're going to contemplate debating. Yeah, it's a bit of a catchy title. Thanks, Tommy, for coming up with the name. So, the manner of debate. Now, we have seen, especially in politics, especially at the last general election, and especially over in America. Oh, God, that's another bag of worms altogether. 1 year to go, my live stream from his own. Oh. 1 year ago, my best friend's live stream. Optimistically cynical. Oh, and he shot in portrait mode. I don't know if this guy's having the joke or not. I don't know because I was gonna say sorry for what happened to your friend in chat, but oh, I don't know if he's joking or not. I don't know. He shot portrait mode. Well, okay, portrait mode you shouldn't shoot in unless you're doing TikTok, which even if you are doing a TikTok, then that's a no. You shouldn't be doing TikToks if you're over the age of 10. I don't know. I don't use it. Anyway, back to topic. Of debating. So in politics, if I've noticed, there's been a very toxic and just a terrible platform to debate people on views, of just being attacked just for having a view. Not saying I disagree with you because this is this. It's because it's either you have this view, so therefore you are this and that. Not I think you're wrong because this and this. It's you must be like racist or whatever, depending on what it is, instead of trying to say why I think you are wrong, which is where we should really be at, especially on Twitter, where the debate on politics is very toxic. And quite frankly, I disengaged with Twitter and politics altogether, because last time I got into debate, it got quite heated. And, well, I stayed calm and collective. People on social media, they don't like to stay debating on the topic. They like to personally insult you and just create a horrible, toxic environment to debate. And therefore, I just keep out of politics on Twitter now, because it's just a complete mess. With that said, though, let's talk about the platform of debate. How should you challenge someone's view when you disagree with them? Well, it should be calm discussion, calm debate. It should be not a case of you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. It should be I think you're wrong because this, and this. I don't quite agree with you there, but I think this because this, or I don't quite think what you said there's quite right because I believe in this. Yeah, that's the way it should be. It should be people having a civilized discussion. It shouldn't be, yes, I disagree with you, but here's why I think what I think. Then you are entitled to then put your point across back to them, saying, okay, I get your point, but I understand, but the way I see things is from this aspect. But it's about having calm discussion with each other, but also I think it's important to understand where that person is coming from. This is why I don't think certain things that might be deemed offensive should be censored, because it's good to try and understand people's thinking. Just where do they come from with their thinking? How come they see it from a different angle that I do? Like, just try and see it from their perspective as to why they might think the way they do, which I think, yeah, that's a good approach on how to do it. Obviously, you shouldn't personally attack someone when you're having a discussion on a matter. Okay, if you're having an argument with someone about something they've done personally, then that's different. But when we're talking about issues, a topic like from yesterday, which I want to just touch on quickly, we got a bit of a controversial discussion on gender and sexuality and stuff, and we have a little group chat, and this, I'm going to use this as a good example. I'm not going to mention exact names because I don't know, because I don't have people's blessing to mention names, so I can't be asked to go ask permission and stuff. But one person who in our little group chat disagreed with Tommy, but to his credit, he did it in a really good way. He disagreed in a really good way, which is what I like. It's I don't think this. I don't agree with you there because I think this. Yeah. Like, which is how it should be. You should be able to have a polite discussion with someone and say, I don't disagree with you because of this, not because you're this and that. Which some people especially on Twitter would have said to Tommy, "Oh, you can't say that. That makes you this and that." Whereas in our little group chat, it was a good discussion, and whereas he put his views towards Tommy, and Tommy put his views back, and that's how debate and discussion should be. And yeah, if you don't, and if you want to get toxic and nasty with someone, there's absolutely no point in doing so. Anyway, hang on a second. Yes, anyway, with that said. So, I want to, also, with that said, I want to do a quick follow-up from yesterday. Now, credit to what I just mentioned, we didn't get too much, flack for it. It was more a debate, which is how it should be. We had someone disagree with us in a respectful and good manner, and adding their views into the debate is always good, and I like it when that happens, because it's a good civilized platform of debate is, well, it's healthy, whereas a toxic platform of debate when you're going at each other's throats is not healthy, and you're not going to get anywhere by doing that whatsoever. So I want to follow up from yesterday's topic on our sexuality gender debate. Of this going to link in on debating in general. The topic we're just going to use it as an example to, I don't know, elevate where we are. So it was me and Tommy having a little discussion. We didn't have a heated discussion. I was more chill, and Tommy's always chill, but I wasn't like going, being like the Piers Morgan when I'm like hammering, like, what, you think this because that, what, do not accept that, and going like trying to be a Piers Morgan on Tommy, which anything Tommy was the stronger one in that debate, if I had to be honest. In terms of putting his points across, Tommy is always very good at putting his point across. Whether you agree with him or not, he's still very good at getting his point across. And yeah, like I said, it's okay to disagree with someone. There's a lot of points me and Tommy agree on. There were some minor points that me and Tommy sort of, I wouldn't say butted heads, because that means like we're pissed off with each other, but we didn't quite agree on certain aspects, especially on sexuality, on whether it's social, or do you think you're born a certain way. That's okay though. It's okay to have a disagreement. It's okay to disagree with someone, and you can still be friends and good friends and really good friends with them, even if you disagree on a little thing. You don't have to always agree with someone to be friends with them or to get along with them, which I think's always good. Anyway, the little debate we had in our little group chat was around Tommy's viewpoint on sexuality being socially constructed, which he put a good argument for. Where do I feel on that topic? Well, I sort of think, okay, yes, socially things can always impact you, but I think on terms of like sexuality, I certainly do agree that it's something that you don't exactly choose in a sense. Like it's not something like you can choose, which I don't know. It's very hard, and Tommy was sort of hinting at that as well. He thinks in terms of social aspects, which yeah, I can sort of see. I can certainly see where he's coming from for that. In terms of it being a personal preference, which personal preference on who you choose to be with in the bedroom and all that. I can see that. You'd think a personal preference is what you enjoy and what you like, and that of course a lot of like interests, like what you're interested in, like if what movies you're interested in, music, that again can be socially constructed, and your political viewpoints as well. It's also something that is socially constructed. And I certainly think, in terms of sexuality, that is something that I don't think is strictly socially constructed. I think we're all like hardwired at birth some time ago. I do think that. I think in terms of sexuality, you're all hardwired. Like you can't help feeling the way you do towards a certain gender or something. That's how I see it. Um, why I do sort of can pick up on Tommy's points on if it a social construct. I disagree that it's primarily a social construct of. I think like people are born a certain way, they just don't discover it till later on in life, just what they are. That's how I feel. I also feel that in terms of social constructs, I think socially discovering your sexuality can be impacted socially. So, don't know, just from how you're raised, just the social environments you're in terms of how you discover your sexuality. As you later develop on in life, that can certainly be a social impact on when you discover just what you like. Because there's a lot of social pressures. Tommy argued that not so much now. Of course, yeah, I understand. It's much more accepting to be open and with your sexuality in this day than it was probably 10 years ago, though even more than it was back in the day. Because I talk from I'll talk about personal experience, how personal experience shapes how personal experience can shape someone's view as well. We'll get into that later. Hopefully we'll get Tommy on the line to discuss some things, which hopefully he's watching at some point. He might be watching now. I don't know. He might be. So if you're watching, Tommy, say hi in group chat or something. Whoever's watching, feel free to say hi in group chat and talk to me, ask me questions, whatever. Have a discussion. Have a contemplate debating with me. I had to do it. I'm sorry. I forgot. Oh Jesus! I forgot where I was now. Oh, I'm a numpty. Yes. So I think in terms of sexuality, social construct and pressures, can sort of limit or exceed someone to discovering and just what their actual preference is. Because like I still stand by my belief of, okay, people might go a certain route to begin with because they think, oh, everybody else is doing this, so I think that's just normal, so I'm gonna do this as well. Then you discover, hang on, maybe not quite, maybe I'm not quite feeling that, or actually I think I prefer this or that, which I believe can impact like your views on discovering your sexuality. I don't think the social interactions you have determine what sexuality you're going to be. I just think it just helps suppress or discover just what it is, which I don't know. It's very complicated and hard to explain, which I don't know. It's very hard to explain. But I also agree with Tommy about the social pressures and the amount of depression that's going on in young people in terms of them being given so many labels and being told they have to, like, they got all this and it's okay to decide what you are, and you got all these labels you can pick from, and yeah, and that puts a lot of pressure on people. Whereas it wasn't so as bad when people could discover naturally. Whereas it's more, I don't know, it's more out there, and I think it pressures people a lot more in today's world, having all of them labels and social constructs that's out there. I think it does put a lot of pressure on people to decide, and essentially decide instead of discover, which can be hard on a lot of younger people, which is why Tommy said is right about depression, suicide rates going up, and suicide among men in general is another issue, which of course it's just absolutely heartbreaking to see. A spike in depression and suicide, that is of course an awful thing to see, and yeah, not to get down or anything, but just seeing depression is just, especially on the rise, it just breaks your heart with the amount of people who have taken their lives. Yeah, it does get you down. Especially, it can be argued, though I don't like to talk about the community so much for personal reasons, especially with LGBT men. I say not LGBT men, but because they can't be lesbians, but just of that spectrum of suicide rates is also very high among men of that category as well, which is quite tough to think about, really, of people not being comfortable with who they are, so they have to resort to suicide, or not knowing who they are, so they have to resort to suicide, which of course is absolutely awful and tragic, and God, I don't know, it just breaks my heart, and I don't know really the solution to it. That's the thing. I don't know the solution to it. Of course, the solution to help relieve depression and anxiety is to find a way to relieve the pressure off people, so they don't have to be concerned about things like this or worry about having to put themselves in a box or label. The way you go forward with that, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know the solution going forward, but it's certainly an issue that needs to be looked at, and I don't know, just resolved in society. Which, yeah. We're going to talk about personal experience of how it constructs our views. I'm going to link back to the discussion we had in the group chat of course, I'm not going to mention exact names without permission or blessings, because I just feel like everyone should have the right to privacy and all that. But of someone saying how their views is based off the experience they've had going to university, opposed to Tommy's views, which would be based off other social interactions that he's had in his life, and without going into details, I can see why Tommy has the view he has, and he makes a lot of good points on it, and yeah. But we're going to talk about experience or how it shapes someone's views. And now, I'm not one of these people that think just because you're not LGBT or a certain race, you shouldn't be allowed to comment on something. I certainly am not of that opinion. It could be argued that just because you're not this, you don't have as much as a view or experience, which, okay, that could be argued, but I still think people should be able to have their take and how they see things, because a lot of times they can still make good points without having to be directly in your boots or in your position. Like, I personally don't like to talk about LGBT and stuff like that on a personal level, but this is where my opinion comes from, because technically, if I wanted to put labels on myself, I could say technically I am LGBT, but I don't like going down that route. I don't like saying that I am bisexual, because it's just not needed. I just don't like to talk about it. I don't know. For my own anxieties is there, but I suppose it doesn't really matter too much for me. I know a lot of people it can affect, but I don't like to say I'm LGBT. I don't really associate myself with that. If you want to do what you do behind closed doors, that's fine. Like, I don't really want to be. I'm not exactly open with sexuality personally, but that's just my view on how I see things. But that has shaped my opinion on sexuality. Why I think you are a certain way, because I don't know how to explain from myself discovering myself. I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. I suppose social pressures can be a big influence. Tommy's still right there. Yeah. it's a very complex subject, um, which you could argue because I have experience in discovering that sort of thing. You could say, oh, he knows his view is more valid than that, but I don't think my view is any more valid than Tommy's view. Even though I still agree with a lot of points he's made. I still don't think my view is any less valid than his view. I still think like I said, makes a lot of good points. And I still believe and I still think what I think because, I don't know, from my own personal experience, that's what shaped my view. Well, yeah, it's a big complex issue. Not everyone fully understands it. It's still a big issue that isn't fully understood entirely. So me and Tommy could technically both be entirely wrong. I know there's science behind it, whether that's social science or actual biological science that's still being discovered. So it's possible me and Tommy's views on that we could be both entirely wrong. Who knows? That's the whole thing. Everything's always constantly changing and evolving, and we might be in a position where, yeah. So at the moment, for the time, I still stick to my viewpoints, though that doesn't make like Tommy's views any less valid than mine. We can. I'm repeating the same points here. But yes, personal experience does affect views. Of course it does. Whether that be your political views, the way you were brought up, your parents, your friends, the people that you hang around, can all affect like your views of the world, your political views, your views on sexuality, your views on gender, your views on anything, your taste in music. Just socially, a lot of them are inherited. But though I still think that's the one thing we discussed yesterday. I still think that's not something that's created socially, but something that is helped discovered socially. I mean, it could definitely be argued in that. I'm not gonna say Tommy's is less valid than me because I've experienced the actual discussion. I have been okay. I'm not like I've never been in a bad position because of it. It's just it is what it is, and I don't blindly talk about it. I don't think it's something I need to go mention to people. I don't think it's something that people need to know. It's yeah. I'm a very in terms of like sexuality, relationship stuff. I'm a very private person when it comes to that, so I tend to keep things just to myself on that issue. I don't like to shout about it. Like when it comes to things like that, I am very personal and keep things to myself a lot. So that's why I don't really discuss it much at all, apart from making an exception for today. But just the sort of person I am, I don't like to discuss it. So that's why I don't as much. Anyway, that's enough on that topic. Actually, I want to link back to personal experience. So yes, personal experience can affect your views and how you see things. And yeah, it's a good thing to understand someone's personal circumstances and why they think that. I think the way I do because, well, as I mentioned, because of my things I got. But yeah, that is why I think what I think because of my experience, because of going through, well, the situation in terms of sexuality, discovering your sexuality. I've been through it, and I'm on the other side of that. No, yeah, I'm happy with who I am, but I don't go. I still don't feel. I don't feel the need to go shout about it, and I don't really associate myself with anything else. So there we are. That's where I'm going to end that discussion. We're just going to go to do a quick breaking news alert on the podcast as well. We just got notification that there's been a fatality to the coronavirus. The coronavirus, of course, a massive issue at the moment. It's just been announced, well, I can say just been announced a little while ago while I was doing the podcast, that there's been the first casualty of the coronavirus in the UK. Which, okay, it was an elderly patient, doesn't make the death any less significant. Which it was an elderly patient who had underlying health issues, which is the sort of people who are at risk of coronavirus. It's the elderly people with health issues, respiratory, breathing issues. Why can't I say the word today? I don't know. With those sort of issues, people who have a weakened immune system also more risk. People like you and me, young healthy people. We're not going to be affected or be casualties of it. Though coronavirus is something potentially, if it's not controlled, could spiral out of control. I personally don't think it's going to reach terrible levels. And don't forget, it still hasn't killed as much people as, the normal flu. Though it still remains to be seen how exactly it's going to be played out. The government's announced they're beyond the contained level and trying to delay the effects of coronavirus. We even saw the new James Bond movie got delayed because of coronavirus. So, yeah, I don't know how coronavirus is going to affect people's lives. It's possible it could be delayed. Who knows? No one knows, to be honest. That is the thing. I think I've discussed everything I was going to discuss today, to be honest. I don't know what else I want to discuss on today. Well, we could talk about political news. Boris has done something. I don't know what. He's done something. Let's see if we have Tommy on the line. Tommy, our chief political correspondent. That's what I want to call him. We're going to see if we're going to get very good debate so far. People will never have the same views on everything. Therefore, it's important to debate and discuss different views in order to resolve them. Yes, thank you, Tommy. You're here, but are you ready to do a call-in? Instead of commenting, do a call-in. I don't know if you're ready to do that. If you are, please chap in. If you're ready to call in, then please feel free to call in, because I'm ready for you whenever. I don't know if Tommy's still there. I don't even know when Tommy posted that message, because I've not looked at the chat for ages. We will see. See, I don't really get social, touchy-feely much. But in terms of just in terms of general stuff. Okay, we're gonna get Tommy on the line in 5 minutes for a quick phoning discussion. So if anyone else has any questions for Tommy, we can put towards him. Then yeah, feel free to do so. Following our discussion from yesterday, I think I've discussed anything of people's personal circumstances affects their views, what they've experienced, what they've seen, or who they are as a person. I know I don't like the argument that people could use against Tommy because he's a white straight male, so therefore his argument's invalid because he's straight. Even though technically you could technically class myself as a minority, but I don't go down that route, that's for sure. Because I'm meant to be BLT. Actually, no, I got in trouble for saying that. Even though I am meant to be a bicycle, I got in trouble for saying this as well. I said I was a bicycle when I said what my sexuality is. It's a little play of words on bisexual. I say bicycle and I got told off for it. I got told off for being BLT as well, which I said bacon, lettuce, tomato. But there we go. I have a very crude sense of humor, and yeah, I like to crack jokes wherever I can. I don't think you can say just because you are LGBT doesn't give you any less rights or more rights to say a joke. I think someone such as Tommy still has enough rights to say a joke like that, which I will still find it funny. That's how I view it. Like as Ricky Gervais said, there's nothing you should ever not tell a joke about. There's a difference between saying something to be offensive and saying something to be funny. It's all about the subject and target of a joke when we talk about comedy. That's how I see things. And there's nothing you should really ever not joke about. It depends on, the target and the subject and the context of a joke. Which sometimes when you're trying to be funny, it can always go down well. And also things where we could clash is, of course, gender identity. That's a no bag of worms that I can't say anything on. Though, if you want to do a fun fact, if you want a fun fact of Matthew, I did an online test. Bear in mind, online test means fuck all, because I once got a test saying I have the body of Superman and the physique I have the physique of Superman and the mind of... Oh, I forgot what it was now. I have the mind of Iron Man. Yeah, so do take questions with a pinch of salt. What's the gender identity test? And apparently I got... What's the word? Begins with A. I forgot what it is. Apparently, in terms of my gender identity, I meant to be... I can't remember the word, but it's more like gender neutral, non-binary, apparently. Which, in terms of my personality, I am more neutral and in the middle. Which, yes, I could agree that, but I wouldn't say that I'm not a male because of that. That's for sure. That's my take on it. That's at least like, yeah, you can have personality, then you have your gender. Like, yeah. In terms of social constructs, I'm not. We discussed this earlier. I'm not. I'm not super masculine though. I'll accept that right now. I'm more, neutral in terms of my, characteristics in terms of interest and stuff like that. But doesn't mean I would say I'm any other gender than male, just because of that. And yeah, this is how I view it. Anyway, we should have Tommy on the line coming on soon. It's been 5 minutes, boy. Okay, let me just get OBS set up so I can accept calls. There we go. Right. So we're just going... So we're just going to get that in and allow Tommy to call whenever he wants to call in. For the time, let's waffle on another subject, shall we? There we go. Okay, we're just getting on the line. Okay, we have on the line... Hang on. I say we have on the line. Okay, my desktop audio's not working. Ah, shit, I can't... Hang on a second, technical difficulties. Sorry, Tommy. Hang on, let me just turn OBS on. Right, hello, Tommy. We have Tommy Bowyer on the line. The TPN chief political correspondent, as I'm going to call him now. Hello, Tommy.
Hello. It's good to be here.
Good to be here. Welcome to the show. It's good. It's weird to have you as a guest instead of a host today.
Yes, it does feel strange. A lot more informal. That's for sure.
Yeah. So so I take it you've been listening to what we've been discussing today.
On and off. I've been
On and off.
packing my bags for holiday, so I've been on and off listening to it. I can't say I've heard everything.
So are you going to be an angry LBC caller or one that agrees with Matthew?
Well, who knows? Yeah, I'd have to hear what Matthew had to say first.
Well, you heard the debate. That's what we're talking about in terms of debating and looking at other people's views and how experience could shape someone's view.
Well, yeah, obviously experience shapes someone's opinion on things, and people have different experiences throughout life, and of course that shapes their opinions on a whole range of different things, including political views and views on sexuality and gender and all of those things. Personally, I don't think one set of person, if you've gone through an experience, means that you're more qualified and your experience has higher merit because of that. For example, and not all of them. Some people who go to university think that their views are more important than others because they went to university. I personally don't think it is about that. We all go through different experiences, and I don't think you can qualify some are better than others because they have a higher education or have been or self-identify with the LGBT community.
I certainly agree with that.
Yes, I don't see why their views should be more qualified than my own because I just don't see that.
It shouldn't make someone else's views less invalid or seem less important just because of your personal circumstances. I still think everyone should be able to voice their opinions and have their say.
No, and I openly admit that I have controversial views on sexual orientation and gender, but that is they are my opinions
Yeah.
that I have gained throughout my experience. Your views can change throughout your life, of course. We're
Yeah.
still pretty young, so our views could change. But at the moment, I know my views are probably a minority view, controversial. But
Only on
I
the
never
Twitter
feel
brigade.
I never feel threatened by that. I
Yeah.
always make sure to stand by my views. I try not to flip flop on anything
Well,
like
in
quite a lot of people do. I stand by what I say because I've said it, and I'm
well,
9 times out
also
of 10 I'm
like
not going to backtrack.
and also in terms of what you said though, it's like in terms of like the platform discussion we had, it wasn't. Yeah, it was an actual platform discussion, wouldn't you say?
Well, yes, exactly. You weren't, of course, as you said in this podcast, you didn't exactly agree 100% with what I was saying. However, you didn't just, while I was saying it, say, you're
Yeah.
wrong, and just cut me off.
Yeah.
You allowed me to express my opinion, and then you expressed yours, and then we
Yeah. Which is how it should be.
discussed those opinions. I think it's very wrong to just kind of block someone off and
Yeah.
cut them off and say, well, your opinions are sexist or
Yeah.
homophobic in my view, and we have to stress that in
Yeah.
their views, my opinions are homophobic and sexist, and then just cut it off, which I think is wrong. If you are mature enough, then you should be able to discuss. That's the only way you can resolve
Yeah.
things, by discussing.
Absolutely.
You can. It is very ignorant to just cut it off
Yeah.
and think your views are the only ones which are accepted. That's very ignorant, and I would call anyone ignorant who would do that.
Yeah. Definitely. So like we agree like you can disagree with someone, and also as long as you put like your counter argument in like a calm, civilized manner, which we have seen some people, especially over social media, not quite do the same, especially on Facebook and Twitter.
No. Well, I was a student of history and sociology, so I was always taught to construct my arguments
Yeah.
in a very systematic way. Usually, you would put your own views first and back it up using evidence, for example. However, you would then say, on the other hand, some might say that it is due to this. And the point is that not only are you identifying that there are other opinions, the point of that is then you're supposed to say, even though some people have this view, evidence suggests that their opinion is not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
So that's what you're supposed to do. You're not only supposed to put your opinion across, you're supposed to destabilize and pick holes in other people's opinions as well. That's called debating. That's not
Yeah.
me saying your opinion is wrong. That is me saying, well, there are some questions with your views, in my personal opinion, and that's why I think my view is better.
Yeah.
That is basically what you're saying. But that doesn't mean that I write off everyone else's opinions
Yeah.
as not being right. Of course, especially with sexual orientation, it's a very complex issue.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of research going into that. Personally speaking, I don't think we will ever 100% know
Yeah, that's true.
if
That's
there's one
always
definitive
developing.
answer.
Hmm.
However, I think that my opinion
Yeah.
is right because that is what I believe in. That's what I see the evidence showing. However, I don't think we will ever fully know what the definitive answer is with a subject like that.
That is true. That is true. And that is why we have a show like this, which we want to make more of a discussion, debating show, where people can come on and put their points of views across, have a little discussion, have a little debate. That's the point of a show like that, a show like this, which is why this was the original idea of the TPN podcast. It's where we're going to try and go in the future. Because most of the time it was just me and Tommy discussing the main politics of, the Conservative Party and Brexit and stuff like that, which most of the time me and Tommy, we always agree with each other on. So we want to try and move into more of a, debate with each other where we can have a contrast of views instead of, just on Brexit where we all think the same.
Yeah, so I think last year when we started this podcast, we were in a very politically wise, we were in a crisis in our country, and now we're moving on from that. It gives us the ability to discuss more broader topics which haven't been in the limelight for several years because of Brexit.
Yeah.
So I think you're very right. I think as Brexit has moved on, we can start discussing other topics, especially social topics as well, because
Yeah.
that seems to be where we contrast a bit more in our opinions on those
Hmm.
things.
Oh yeah, that is very true. Um, yeah, I think we've had a good discussion. And also, did you listen to the topic we had at the start of the show on free speech versus hate speech?
I did briefly hear that, yes. Personally speaking, um, hate speech is very severe. Um, Although I think a lot of people use hate speech as kind of a scapegoat for views which they don't agree with. Um, there's been numerous cases for, as you said, Katie Hopkins and YouTubers such as, well, one I used to watch who's no longer available on YouTube, um, have very different opinions from what you could say is the more uh, liberal wing of these platforms.
Yeah.
But it just seems that those who share more conservative views, more populist ideas, they seem to be marginalised in their views. The 9 times out of 10 on YouTube and Twitter, the videos which are taken down or tweets which are deleted by Twitter are usually from a conservative origin
Yeah.
rather than a liberal origin. They
That
mostly
is true.
stay
Yeah.
up online. So, I mean, that's something, of course, everyone's used to because the majority of big corporations are very liberal. That's just how it happens. Um, I think that free speech, I think people use hate speech too often. It's said as a tool, basically. It's used as a political tool. Um, and I think that's lessening the impact of it because when you see true hate speech, um, I think it's like the boy who cried wolf. If you keep saying that everything is hate speech, then you might miss some of the more severe cases of hate speech.
Yeah.
Because I don't I think that hate speech is a political tool used too often because those who use it um, don't actually have any counter arguments and don't have the time for debating, so they just accuse the others of using hate speech. I think that's something that people need to stop doing.
And do you
Really.
think people openly saying something that they don't agree with or find offensive as hate speech actually harms people who are victims of actual, malicious, discriminatory hate speech?
Oh yes, I really do think it does because though individuals who have suffered from hate speech, and I have seen examples of proper hate speech online, it does really affect them, especially when the, what they've been through seems to be lessened because so many people are saying that they've had hate speech, so they're no longer. It seems like theirs is no longer relevant
Yeah.
because and I think that is wrong. I mean, the amount of people when they say, "Oh, I've had hate speech against me," and 9 times out of 10, if you look at it, it's not actually hate speech. It's just an opinion which is different from
Or
theirs,
they
which
find
they
slightly
just
offensive
yeah.
because they don't agree.
As I said, it's like the boy that cries wolf. Eventually, there's going to be so many people saying, "Oh, this is hate speech. This is hate speech," that when someone who has genuinely had hate speech towards them says it, no one's going to believe them because just so many people are saying that there's been hate speech.
Absolutely.
I I agree with you on that one. I think that needs to be sorted and that needs to be sorted out. People either need to find the time to debate or just ignore the alternative opinions. If you do not want to debate, then just ignore it and show everyone that you're just as ignorant as you appear because you won't debate anyone else's opinion.
Well,
But do not claim it is hate speech
yeah.
because that's the easy way out.
One way that really triggers a lot some people is saying that the majority views of Twitter does not reflect the majority of people's views in the country.
No, that is very, very true. We see that with well, we saw that with the 2019 general election when Twitter was basically saying it was going to be very close, and it turned out to not be close at all.
Yeah.
So, Twitter is one of the most liberal platforms out there. I would personally actually say that YouTube is pretty moderate compared to Twitter and Facebook. You can have more freedom of speech on YouTube than you can on other sites. I think it has something to do with who's in charge of the organisations. Obviously, at Twitter, they're very liberal in their views, and they'll often just use a lot of jargon to kind of say why they've taken down your post, when it's probably because they don't agree with it and are just trying to think of an excuse for it not to be projected on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think you're going to change it. I think it needs to be changed. However, I don't think it will. I think the Liberals feel they have the upper hand, so they're not going to change it because they don't want to debate with more conservative opinions, because they can't tolerate it. They can't debate in a civilized fashion, so it's just easier to claim it's hate speech.
Yes. Oh, and Tommy, one more thing I want a comment from you from. As you're going on holiday, and there's, the big topic at the moment is coronavirus. Like, how do you think that's affecting people's holidays?
Well,
or people's lives in the UK in general? How's that?
Well, of course, we've heard a lot about it. Of course, Flybe went bankrupt, and some of its executives are already starting to blame that on coronavirus, with loads of people cancelling their holidays. Personally, from my own experience going away tomorrow, I'm going away on Saturday at 1:30 in the morning. I honestly don't see it as a problem. I think I'm going to bring an example you've used when you messaged me and said, "Oh, Canary Islands has been infected with
Well, there was a reported case, should I say?
Yeah, or you said something along those lines, and then I explained to you, well, actually, it's one hotel in Tenerife, which no one's going to, and I'm not even going to Tenerife, I'm going to Fuerteventura. So I think the media is blowing this, as usual, the media is blowing this out of proportion. Of course, it is a problem, and the last thing I can remember which really happened like this, which affected this country, was probably, they were saying on the news, swine flu back in, I think it was 2009, and
like 9 or 10.
And all of a sudden that just disappeared because people stopped worrying about it. I personally am not allowing it to affect my holiday. We're still going on holiday at this moment in time, in case unless all flights are cancelled and the country goes into lockdown. But I think I'll still be going away. It's not as far spread as people think it is, and as long as you wash your hands and basically do what you should be doing, then you are very unlikely to be infected.
And Tommy, one last thing on coronavirus. How do you feel that apparently that's the reason why the new James Bond's been delayed?
Well, of course, the new James Bond film has faced numerous production problems, so I don't know, it could be true, or it could just be, it's more a movie rewind topic, but it could just be, I think it could be the fact that they've had production troubles, so they just want another couple of months to get everything sorted.
Yeah.
And of course, the coronavirus outbreak is the perfect cover-up for this, because then you don't have to have an embarrassing suspension. They have done it before. It was supposed to be released earlier than it has been, but they had to push it back because the director left and all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd say it's 50-50. It's either due to the coronavirus or it is because they've had production problems on set.
Yes. Well, Tommy, thank you very much for joining us. This is where we're going to let you. This is where we're going to let you go now. So you bugger off and go pack for your holiday.
I will. I'm nearly packing. Packed all my books.
So Tommy, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your input. Much obliged.
You're welcome.
Right. Goodbye, Tommy.
You're welcome. Bye.
That was Tommy Bowyer, our political man of the TPN podcast, more of a direct forward-putting with controversial views of Movie Rewind. He's also a host here as well sometimes when he's not on holiday. And actually, most of the time he's a host here. That was Tommy. You'll probably see more of him in about 2 weeks' time when he comes back on his holiday. Anyway, guys, this is where we're going to wrap up the TPN podcast for tonight. Thank you for everyone who's watched and enjoyed the podcast. If you want to share your views, if you want a counter-argument to anything Tommy or me or I have said today, feel free to put it in the comments down below, messages, or if you're part of our little group, feel free to message us in the group chat if you're one of them people watching. If anyone else, make sure you just comment down below on the video. Even find us on Twitter, even though I haven't used the TPN Twitter Twitter for ages, but if you send me a mention on it, I'll probably respond to you. Unless you call me a dickhead, then I won't be responding. I'll just put you in the bin. Anyway, guys, this is where we're going to end it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more content discussions, feel free to chip in the discussion, and feel free to give it a like, dislike, or subscribe so you can see more in the content like this in the future. And, of course, I've been Matthew from the TPN podcast, and this is the end of this episode of Contemplating Debating. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in another one.